Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. U.S. forces will begin blockading maritime traffic in and out of Iranian ports from Monday, after negotiations between Washington and Tehran broke down in Islamabad. In a post on X on Sunday, the U.S. Central Command announced a measure saying the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM, however, clarified its forces would not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. The maritime measure follows the failed 21-hour talks in Pakistan between U.S. and Iranian delegations. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Washington and Tehran were just inches away from reaching a deal during the peace talks. He said Tehran had been met with maximalism and shifting goalposts, and that a sudden shift in the U.S. position ultimately derailed the negotiations and prevented a memorandum of understanding between the two sides. According to state media, Iran's parliamentary speaker Bagher Ghalibaf said that Iran would not give in to threats after U.S. President Donald Trump ordered a naval blockade of the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guard warned that military vessels approaching the Strait of Hormuz would be considered a violation of the ceasefire, while the strait is completely under Iran's control. South Korea will continue to maintain its emergency economic response system following the collapse in talks between the U.S. and Iran. That's according to Blue House spokesperson Jun In-soo on Sunday, after an emergency economic meeting. The meeting was presided over by Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Kim Yong-bom, where officials assessed that great uncertainty lingers surrounding the local economy. They expect it to take significant time for Middle East countries to restore logistics and energy facilities even after the conflict ends. The authorities will maintain emergency meetings at a top and senior level and check affected items on a daily basis. President Lee Jae-myung held a summit with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk at the Blue House on Monday. Lee welcomed Tusk to his office this morning. Tusk signed a guest book and the pair held a photo session. Their talks were followed by a joint press statement and an official lunch. Prime Minister Tusk began a two-day official visit to South Korea on Sunday, at President Lee's invitation. BTS has made U.S. music charts history as their fifth studio album Arirang sits on top of the Billboard 200 for a third consecutive week. According to Billboard on Sunday, the album held off strong competition from Morgan Wallen's I'm a Problem and Ye's Bully. This marks the first time any K-pop act has spent 3 weeks at number 1. The previous best was 2 non-consecutive weeks achieved by the soundtrack to K-pop Demon Hunters. The Billboard 200 ranks albums based on overall consumption, including physical sales and streaming. With this milestone, BTS also becomes the first group in 13 years to spend 3 weeks at number 1. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.